Hello, so I've been experimenting a little bit with this keyboard, which is the Korg Pa5X arranger. And the angle I've taken is pretty much just getting on it and seeing how I, as a keyboardist, might just have fun on it, experiment, use the tools built in, see how it can inspire me to be creative. And I'll show you what I did. Now, first of all, the screen on this thing is great. I love the display on here, it's very clear. And where I started was with the piano sounds on here, of which there's a great selection. I've always enjoyed the clarity and the responsiveness of Korg pianos. The default one's this Austrian Grand. And what you get out of these types of pianos is very, very expressive, and that draws out of you a different way of playing, a way of sort of pouring your feelings onto the keys. But what I found was in the deeper selections in here, on the second page, there's this lovely one called Acoustic Piano and Blend. And what this gives us is the same piano we heard just then, but there's also going to be, in fact, we go back onto the main screen here and go to keys, we can see the constituent parts of this setup. It gives us the two piano sounds, but also a blend of this pad on the sub end, so it's just boosting the bass a bit. And if you're just playing piano, predominantly like I like to do when I'm at home having fun on these things, then it sort of boosts the bass end in a really rich, natural way. I'll stop whittering on and I'll play so you can hear it. I was keeping my foot on the pedal there, and you can hear how on the bass end we've got this lovely, deep, rich sound that's coming through for me on this PAS speaker system here really beautifully. I hope it is for you at home as well. And it's just giving that bass end a lovely, lovely lift at the bottom. But equally, when we go up to the top here, the effect is nice on the treble end. Have a listen to this. If I just really go gently on the keys. It's kind of a ghostly effect. I really like it, and it's making me want to play with more feeling on there, which is really nice. So some of the piano sounds on here are great, and often I'm doing this and I'm improvising and I'm getting into a bit of a groove here, but I want to add something else. And I often think, well, what I want now is some sort of gentle drum beat that's going on in the background, or percussion that can just push this forward and give us a little bit of a beat to play with. So what I'm going to do is go into this section here. This is the called pads, or pad, and basically what we can do is get this to play a very simple beat for us, just like this. Okay, now I'm going to turn it down slightly because I don't want that to be so in your face, so I'm just going to bring that down slightly. I'm going to play, and then I'm just going to bring that in as I'm playing along. Okay, so that's just one simple way we can get a drum beat going on here. But then what if I want a little bit more than that as well? So what I'm going to start doing here is using one of the styles on here, one of the pre-programmed accompaniment styles, which in essence is like pressing a button and having a band play along with me as well. But there are different elements. There's all the instrumentation in there, guitars, drums, strings, percussion, all sorts, depending on the style of music. But I don't want all of that at once. What I want is just the drum, essentially just like the next step up from that percussion that we just had going on. So I've gone to the style section on these sliders just here, and you can see what I've done. I've basically muted everything apart from the drums and the bass. So I'm going to get that going. In fact, I'm going to use the sync start here. And what you're going to see me doing is playing with that lovely piano and pad mix. I'm going to bring in the drums and the bass as I'm playing. I'm going to use the pad as well. So I've got the shaker and that tambourine going. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to use the variations of them as well, because as I do that, the drum pattern changes slightly, a bit more emphasis on it, a bit more power. And I'm going to then start using these sliders to bring in different instrumentation as I go along. So let's get going, and you get the idea of the type of fun that I'm having here as well. So let's start. I'm going to pause there. And what I'm going to start doing now, so I'm going to go back to the second variation, and then I'm going to use these sliders, and we'll go one by one. In fact, there's a screen I can go onto where we can see this visualized here. You'll be able to see in the styles the different instruments being introduced as I go along. so you can get a sense there of how I can start off very small with minimal inputs, just playing piano essentially, and then using some of these tools to just elaborate on that and bring in a whole band as if I'm just in a room with a group and everybody's gradually joining in with me. And one of the other things that I got to while I was experimenting here was the fact you can put in chord sequences as well. So what I'm going to do is take down all those extra instruments to just drums and bass again, go back onto the main screen here, and there's a section that says chords just here. And this is where I can put in a sequence of chords. And this is quite useful for a keyboardist because at present I'm having to tell the keyboard which chords to play through my actions. I have to hold down at least 3 notes for it to know that I want it to play a C or an F or whatever. So if I pre-program that, that's going to allow me to play in a more natural way where I don't necessarily want to press 3 keys at once. So I'm going to program in a chord sequence, have it loop around, and then start it playing, but I can still use these tools. I can use the variations, the pads, the fills, and I can add and take away instrumentation in the style pan as I go along. So, and you'll notice that when I put these chords in, I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I'm not going to do things like ninths and sixths and what have you, because I want to add that in my playing afterwards. So I'm going to keep it pretty basic. Here we go. There we go. I couldn't help but add a ninth actually, and a minor seventh in that one. But now it's programmed in here. As long as I've got sequence pressed, it's going to loop around. And what I can do is then start adding the extra bits and pieces. So I'm going to do it again now and watch it loop around. And as I go through, you'll see me using the sliders and the pads and the variations to kind of get the whole feeling of this performance, if you will, to build up. And then I'll bring it right back down again with an ending. So at the end there, I'm actually supposed to press ending number 3, which would have just made it a nice soft ending. Ending number 1 plays through, an elaborate ending. And funnily enough, Yamaha keyboards and Korg keyboards have that the opposite way around on their two differing types of operating system, which has thrown me in that case. But anyway, so Korg Pa5X, this is my exploration of them. So I'm glad you're joining me on this journey, because I'm going to be going into different aspects of it and just seeing how a keyboardist can have fun with this type of model, because there's loads on here and it's a slightly different approach to the Yamaha models that we usually feature, but it's interesting to see what that different perspective has brought the creative process. So if you have any questions or comments, features that you think I should be looking at, you want to share, leave them in the comments, because I'm all ears and I'd like to go on this journey with you as well. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching. We'll have another video up soon. Cheers, see you.